Hello YouTubers, my name is Frederick Lopez and you are on the Final Cut. Today I'm going to be giving my thoughts and review of the straight-to-video sequel to The Lost Boys and Lost Boys the Tribe called Lost Boys The Thirst from 2010. So before I move along, I'm going to give my synopsis, cast and crew, and then my personal thoughts and review of the film. And yes, before I continue, this will contain spoilers, but only after the plot summary and cast. Here we go. Lost Boys The Thirst takes place 2 years after Lost Boys The Tribe. It's in San Cazador, California. Vampire hunter Edgar Frog is on hard times as he is evicted from his trailer. But a bestseller author, Gwen Lieber, offers him a job to destroy the head vampire, DJ X, that promotes worldwide raves to increase his army of undead. Gwen's brother, Peter, has disappeared in Ibiza at an X-party promoted by the alpha vampire. Now, DJ X is coming to San Cazador to promote a sacrifice during the blood moon. Edgar discovers that this rave will take place in a slaughterhouse on an island. So Gwen hires reality star Lars von Getz to come along with cameraman Klaus. And Edgar invites his brother Alan to join the team, but he declines. So instead he teams up with his friend Zoe, and together the group find DJ X. During this, Edgar discloses a secret about the head vampire. Lost Boys The Thirst stars Corey Feldman as Edgar Frog, Tennant Phoenix as Gwen Lieber, Casey B. Dolan as Zoe, Jameson Newlander as Alan Frog, Seb Casting as DJ X, Stephen Van Neerkerk as Lars von Getz, and Joe Vaz as Klaus, along with Tanya Van Gran as Lily, and directed by Dario Piana. Writer of this also wrote Lost Boys of the Reign of Frogs, which is a pretty good comic, and it starts off with the second murder capital of the world, Washington, D.C., and we get to see Edgar and Alan work together. Some great dialogue there, who's just like, oh my god, it's the attack of Grandpa Munster! And it's him rescuing a senator. Alan gets turned to a vampire, and ashamed of himself, he leaves, and that's what Edgar's been struggling with, not only in this film, but the last film, but we really get to see it in this film. And one thing I can say is that it doesn't take itself too seriously, and the tongue-in-cheek humor from the first film returns in this one, and it is much better than the second one. The second one was just a cash grab remake of the first, but with extra content, and just took itself way too seriously. And the good thing about Lost Boys The Thirst is that it knows it's a B-movie, and it has fun. And that's the best thing, is when a film knows that it's a B-movie, and they're like, okay, well, then let's have a B-movie. Let's not try to be too serious about everything. Let's just have fun, and that's what makes this film so enjoyable. And then also, one con about this film is that there's raves, and raves died out a long time ago, even before the film came out on DVD. Like, it died out like in the late 90s, early 2000s, maybe even before that. So that portion of the film is a little unrealistic and dated, but it has a Blade vibe to it. The opening credits start, and it's just like techno music and really awesome like vampire art. And you just see the rave party, and that stuff is just fantastic. It has much more of an exciting, kind of like edgier vibe to it than Lost Boys The Tribe did. You can tell that there is some effort put into this. And Dario Piana does a great job directing. They filmed it in South Africa, and a lot of it was because of the budget, so they can film more, and they use a lot of their budget. I mean, there's some stuff that is just fantastic. Vampires flying around. You actually get a sequence where it has Cry Little Sister by Aiden playing. Vampires jump out, and you actually get to physically see them fly, which is amazing, because even in the original film, you never physically saw them fly until at the end, but not like in the way they do it in this film, of them just jumping out of a plane and flying through the clouds at like nighttime, just really fast, and then landing. That was just amazing. And then Gwen Lieber, Gwen Lieber, Tennant Phoenix character, she is pretty much the epitome of Stephenie Meyer, who wrote Twilight. I mean, this film makes fun of Stephenie Meyer and the Twilight books. It bashes it, and there's some great humor there. It bashes reality shows, so like Lars von Getz character is there, and Edgar Frog's annoyed. He's like, he wrestled a mountain lion. It's okay. He did it on a reality show. And Edgar Frog's just like, yeah, you do know all reality shows are staged, right? So that was funny there, because it made a statement. It made a statement about reality shows, and then also like the two Coreys. So that was great. Zoe is a great character. Casey B. Dolan does a great job. She works at a comic book shop that Edgar goes to, and she's kind of a love interest for Edgar Frog, and that's something neat, and it's something that really adds a lot to the character's development, and also something very different from the previous films. And we had some romance in the previous films, but this one's more done in a subtle way, kind of more friends, maybe having feelings for one another, and it's great because we also get to see vampire hunters as the main characters. Before, Edgar had like a small role, and so did Alan. This one, they're front and center. It might as well have been called the Frog Brothers. It really shows how they both reunite and what happened since the first, and more so, this feels like a true sequel. We actually get to hear about the characters. Edgar Frog is persona non grata with the Emerson family. They're not talking to him. Michael and Star are not talking to him. Laddie's moved on. So they mention characters from the first film, and there's a subplot in number 2 where Sam Emerson, Corey Haim's character, is a vampire, and Edgar Frog killed him. So he visits his funeral, and he gives him he gives him a Batman comic on his grave, and it's a Batman comic he was looking for in the Lost Boys, and it's kind of sad. And Corey Haim turned down the role for Sam Emerson in this, but was going to participate in a 4th when it was going to be made. But unfortunately, right before the film was released, he passed away, and it really is sad because Corey Feldman and him were friends in real life, and you really got to see Edgar Frog and Sam Emerson with Alan Frog. They were like they're a team. They were a team, and there's a lot of flashbacks to the first film, but like when he visits his grave, it's kind of sad because he filmed it before Corey Haim passed away in real life. So by the time you get to see the movie now, since he's passed away, you really get to feel it more, not only with the character, but the actor in real life, and it adds a lot of nostalgia and emotion to the film that the second one really lacked. And then I also like the twist at the end. Peter being the head vampire was a brilliant twist. It's a throwback to the first film and really added a lot more stuff. DJ X I thought was cool. Seb Casting did a good job. The only thing though is that the team of vampires, while they're kind of cool, they don't have the personality as the previous 2 teams, especially the original. He's cool, and so is Lily and the other woman that's with her, but like they're not that intimidating, and they also have a different design. It's better than Lost Boys: The Tribe or the Buffy design, but go back to Kiefer Sutherland. That's such an easy approach, and it looked like the Lost Boys. I don't know why they do not do that, but he did okay for the role. And for straight-to-DVD, again, this was made very well. One of the best straight-to-DVD films I've ever seen in my life. I mean, I think at the time when I saw it in 2010, it could have had a theatrical release, really. It was done so much better than Lost Boys: The Tribe. And not only cinematography, effects, but just everything all around. And part of that was because Corey Feldman is an executive producer on this. So he really heard a lot of the complaints of Lost Boys: The Tribe, and then he didn't like some of the stuff they did, especially with the language and just trash content of it. So he's just like, let's kind of go back to basics and make it feel more like the first film. And they did. I thought that was cool stuff with him mentioning Robert Neville, and he's kind of like a Justin Bieber kid, but it's kind of cool that they got a kid to be like the head vampire, who's like the original vampire. And then Alan and him working together. I loved when Alan rescued him, and DJ X is just like, you know what the first rule of killing is? And he's like having this huge monologue, and he's about to kill Edgar, and then Alan stops and he's like, yeah, the first rule is don't monologue. And then they have this great fight. One of the best fights I've seen straight to DVD is kind of like a shortened version of the Phantom Menace fight from Star Wars, where they're fighting DJ X. He has like a staff, and they're fighting him with like samurai swords, so that was pretty cool. And then he has this weapon that impels people. And the weapon, he ends up getting it from the senator he rescued at the beginning. I like that scene with the weapons, and it's just like, nobody makes it better than the Greys or whatever, and that was a throwback to Aliens. So I like that, and then he updated his grenade launcher. It's no longer holy water balloons, it's a grenade launcher. And the weapons were really modified. That whole sequence where he decides to become a vampire hunter has like the soundtrack "Baddest Motherfucker Alive," and it like kicks down the door. Great sequence there. A lot of good music. I wish they released this soundtrack, because this one even has better music than Lost Boys: The Tribe, and they never released a CD, and I really wish they did, because it has some really good music. And then that final kill, where he's just talking about Robert Neville, the head vampire is, and he's just like, join me. It's just like everyone you know or loved are either dead or playing for my team, and Alan's like under his control, is about to kill Edgar. Edgar pulls a water pipe, water's everywhere, and the vampire's like, what the fuck? And then he starts blessing regular water and turning it into water, and only a hunter with faith, true faith, can have that effect on a vampire. And I love that after he does a blessing, he's just like, fuck you! And then he blows up. The greatest vampire kill ever in movies. Like, that was just an awesome kill. I've always wanted to see somebody turn regular water into holy water. So that was one thing, and then just the way Edgar Frog said it, and then the Cry Little Sister theme by Aiden starting to play, and him just blow up was just amazing and fantastic. Real crowd pleaser there. And then him and Alan are looking at one another, and Alan's just like, are you okay? He's like, yeah. And there's like, feign check. And they're doing the same thing from the Lost Boys, which is like, body count is like, dusted all vampires. We're the meanest, we're the baddest. And they go like, ah! And they do the same thing they did in the Lost Boys from the first one. And then after that, they're like, let's not do that again. Some funny stuff there and brotherly love, really. This film just has a lot of heart to it that the other one was lacking. And even though it's not the best film, it's a B movie that knows it's a B movie and it has fun. And because of that, I think it does make the final cut. And it's a worthy DVD sequel. Again, like Lost Boys: The Tribe, my expectations were not very high, but this one really surprised me and blew my expectations. And you could always just stay with the original Lost Boys and it'd be fine by itself, but if you want to see a continuation, just skip Lost Boys: The Tribe and watch Lost Boys: The Thirst, because this one feels like it's a continuation from the first film, has a lot of heart, and it's just a much better made film in every single possible way compared to Lost Boys: The Tribe. So I would give it 3 out of 5, 7 out of 10, and a B. That is my score for Lost Boys: The Tribe. I also like it when he's rescuing Zoe and this vampire knocks Edgar Frog on a bookshelf and you get to see this comic hit him by the ground. But yeah, when I saw it at the time, it just blew me away. And it's definitely one of the better DVD sequels. It's better than Scorpion King sequels or like the Universal Soldier sequels they made that didn't have Jean-Claude Van Damme. And this one, they promote Edgar Frog to a main character, and it really works. And yeah, he does a great job. And originally they were going to make a 4th film, but then Warner Premiere went bankrupt and plans for that failed. And they were also going to make a Frog Brothers TV show, and that never came to fruition. But now they're talking about a Lost Boys CW show, so we'll see. I just hope they get Corey Feldman at one point in the series as Edgar Frog. But it did have a cliffhanger ending with Zoe being a werewolf, and there's hints of that throughout the film. I thought that was an interesting twist. Not needed, but it does make me wonder where a 4th film would have gone since they did away with all the vampires. There's no more vampires, and the Frog Brothers having a spinoff going against different supernatural creatures. I just think that would be interesting, and it's an area unexplored of the Lost Boys. Again, I would say that the sequels aren't really sequels. They're more of like, you could say cash grab DVD sequels, but more so, think of them as spin-offs. And I think that Lost Boys: The Thirst really works as a spin-off. And originally, this was written as a teleplay, so you could tell, maybe that's why it feels good, because it's almost like you're watching a TV pilot for something leaving seeds of another show. Lost Boys: The Thirst is my favorite direct-to-video film since like Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island. I mean, those two are like my favorite. They're just like, they came out and I just absolutely love them. Aiden's Cry Little Sister is used much better in this film than the other film. It's used, gives you excitement. And yeah, the effects and everything is just great. And Jameson Newlander, it's nice seeing him back in a role. I just wish that somebody would give Corey Feldman, Jameson Newlander some more roles. I just feel like they need that Pulp Fiction type of treatment, type of comeback, where you can just get them in a different role you haven't seen them before. Because I think that they're actually capable of doing a lot more in movies. Casey B. Dolan, I'd like to see more of her work. Her as Zoe was great. And yeah, the actress did a good job. And for what it was, I mean, that's the thing, is that I knew it was a B movie. I also like how Edgar, when they're at the senator's house, a vampire said, "Can I come in?" And he's just like, "No," and then like stakes the vampire in the house. But it's cool because it reinforces a rule from the first one. It's like, silly boy, never invite a vampire into your home. It renders you powerless. So he was able to kill it by not inviting it, so that was cool. It has old school rules, and there's just a lot of heart flashback scenes that really get to your heartstrings. Even though Edgar is a little bit more grungier, he's kind of caveman slash like 90s grunge in this film compared to the previous film. And overall, it's a satisfying conclusion to the Lost Boys trilogy, so to speak. You can just watch the first one. There's really only one, but it's better to end it on Lost Boys: The Thirst than Lost Boys: The Tribe. At least they did something with the straight-to-DVD stuff. So, yep, that's my review of Lost Boys: The Thirst. Let me know what you think out there. Did you like Lost Boys: The Thirst? What's your favorite one out of the three? Do you only like the first one? I wouldn't blame you if you do. And, yeah, tell me your favorite moments of Lost Boys: The Thirst. Edgar Frog, Vampire Hunter. Just let me know. And, look forward to more Final Cut episodes for Halloween. I'm going to be reviewing Interview with the Vampire, Queen of the Damned, Scream 3, Scream 4, Halloween H2O, and then I'm going to review the remaining Nightmare on Elm Streets with Freddy's Revenge all the way to Wes Craven's New Nightmare. So get ready for an action-packed Final Cut month for Halloween 2016. Anyway, that's all for today, folks. You have a great day.